Welcome to Roof Chill with your editors from Informality blog. I am Melaney Ann Mitchell.
I'm Patricia Bordallo.
And I'm Blair Schulman.
And today we have our special guest, Garry Noland.
Hello.
Garry Noland was a 2014 Charlotte Street Foundation Visual Artist Award Fellow, a former artist in residence at the Studios, Inc. He has shown work nationally and has been featured in local exhibitions at the Kemper Museum of Art, the Nerman Museum of Art, Studios, Inc., La Esquina, Subterranean Gallery, Kiosk Gallery, City Ice Arts, and has an exhibition opening June 17th at Haw Contemporary. So let's start with a quick recap of First Fridays. Blair, what did we see?
We saw a lot of food trucks. We did, because we were busy doing Gorilla Dosing, so we didn't really go inside many galleries. I don't think we went inside any galleries. I take that back. I take that back. Actually, we went to Front Space, and there was a pretty interesting show that showed Ethan Herberer, if I'm saying his name correctly. He had these really strange images that were sort of tie-dyed that looked like those optical signs from the eye doctor, and little kids running in the park on other signs. And then on the floor he had these palm fronds with something that looked like an asp. It was kind of Egyptian. And the things on the wall with the colors and the...
Were you saying it was a Grateful Dead coloring book?
It's exactly what I was saying. It was
wasn't there sparklers?
There were sparklers.
And there were sparklers. I don't know when we were supposed to use them, but we just set them off anyway. So I really didn't understand what the connection to all of it was, but it was really nice to look at. I thought it was very nicely done.
I felt like his work seemed to have this desire to be really symbolic and about process, but I almost wish that I could have seen more of the process of him making the work, because I talked with Madeline Gallucci in my studio space.
Who is Madeline Gallucci?
Who runs Front Space with Kendall Harbin. And she was telling me about the process that Ethan was going through to create the work, and it was a lot about cleaning the space, making sure the walls were in perfect condition, making sure the space had a very specific smell. And so when I got there, I knew that backstory, but not knowing that, I don't know if I would have had quite as much appreciation for the way in which the space was set up.
Right, maybe some documentation to kind of support everything there. So
there was on Instagram. But
I was in the space and not on Instagram. I was trying to be in the moment.
So then we took a little jaunt down to Becca Flowers.
We did. It was Ruben Bryan Castillo, who is a artist. What discipline would you say?
He's a printmaker, draftsman.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful work. It had a lot to do with home life and domesticity. And Becca Flowers is indeed an actual flower shop. And there were a lot of large plants there in the space. So all these dry point drawings and etchings and pencil drawings surrounding it really gave it this nice three-dimensional quality to everything.
Well, you're having a serious event.
Oh, my opening.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I've been thinking a lot about that opening and how, because I've been at this sort of a longer time, I'm able to see this as a place to begin to step off and move forward rather than it be summary, as if it were an end of a body of work. But I'm starting to see it as the beginning of a body of work. So to me, that's encouraging, and it fits in with my newfound definition of an emerging artist. And typically, that would be somebody, Patricia and Melaney, your all's age. But I just feel like if you're not emerging, you're not an artist.
Yeah, you said that in your article.
I've said that before.
Yeah.
But I really feel like it's true.
Yeah.
Because if you're not emerging, then you're not an artist.
Then you're a robot.
Well, you've fallen into some sort of comfort zone, and I don't think that that's not what art's for. Art's not about establishing a comfort zone. My daughter Peggy's an artist. When I was still working at Hallmark Cards, they had her in for a guest artist lecture, and she said something that made me awfully proud, was that she said her main client was herself. Because, she makes clothes for women and the general population if they're into it. But, she makes them for herself.
Right.
First of all. And if somebody else gets it, buys it, wears it, rents it, whatever it is, then that's sort of the icing on the cake for her. And I go, God damn it, that's fucking fine.
Speaking about community, then, can you talk about the shift from Studios Inc. to the community at the Kumstrom Studios? Because I feel like in terms of the artists working there, it's pretty different.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Well, I was really happy to get this studio that was 3,000 square feet in the first part of 2012 or whenever it was, because I was like thinking, good God. But then it's like, then I think like a lot of people thought I got some kind of a promotion. I mean, I've had my studio on kitchen table before at our house.
Right.
And so when I moved over to the studio at 1523 Oak, people would come up to me, well, how could you possibly do that? How are you able to make the same kind of work? I told them, the size of my studio is in here. And it sounds like a fucking cliche, but it's not. Because you can have a giant badass studio and not be making shit, or you can have a studio on your kitchen table and be kicking some ass.
Right.
So it's like I was grateful to have that spot, because I think it did change my work in terms of how I was able to bounce work off of each other, and there were some benefits. But it's just another one of those wake-up calls that said, you have to rely on yourself.
Tell us what you're making and why you're making it.
Well, I'm making a lot of work that is involving recycled, found, trashed, thrown away materials. Most of the work is going to be on corrugate that I found out of the U-Haul dumpster that's in the back of the building.
Nice.
Giant pieces of cardboard that I've pulled out of the dumpster. Some of the other work is going to be dock foam that I bought from a guy who has a cabin down at the lake that's been pulled out of the Lake of the Ozarks. Most of it's lowbrow materials, and I feel like it's one of my jobs. To me, people are like generally lowbrow material, and we have to elevate ourselves. And it's a metaphor. I think I've got a metaphorical relationship going on with the work in the studio, where by elevating these lowbrow materials, transforming them so that they lose some of their original identity, that I think it's metaphorical for what I need to do for myself. Is like, elevate yourself.
Sure.
Make some changes.
Sure.
I think the main thing that I'm trying to keep current is one of the so-called prescripts of modernism in painting, at least, is like the flattening of space and the merging of subject matters, merging of picture planes, to where that there's like one. It's supposedly an all-over sort of a situation, but that's not the way our society is, because we're made out of positive space and negative space, how we act in our society. And right now, the positive space, and maybe it's changing, is like what the one that I'm most familiar with is like white people in North America. That's the positive space. Everything else that's not that is, in terms of picture building, is negative space. But we don't have a positive space if not for the negative space. If there weren't everything that's here that's, in my case, not male, not white, not North America, not middle class. If it weren't for all the things around me that aren't that, then I don't have an identity. And I think that we need to keep in mind all of the things that aren't us, because it gives us identity. The same, like if we have a landscape painting, if we have a painting of a tree, then the only way we recognize that that's a tree is everything around it that's not tree.
Right.
And so we have to keep that in mind, just basically about how indebted our identity is to things that aren't us.
We wanted to thank Garry for being here on our first episode of Roof
I
Chill.
loved it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love the roof and I love the chill.
All right. We wanted to say that support for this work is provided by a Rocket Grants Project Award, a program at the Charlotte Street Foundation and the University of Kansas Spencer Museum of Art. Funding is provided by the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Visual Arts. You can read more about the art of Kansas City on informalityblog.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Links from this episode are in the comments, and do not forget to subscribe. If you have comments of your own, feel free to share them, and we will respond in our next episode of Roof Chill.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, Garry.